Frankfurt, Germany, a city at the heart of Europe and a global hub for commerce, education and technology. And now it's bringing together clinicians, scientists, nurses and many more to share their expertise in bone marrow transplantation and cell therapy, all to help save the lives of patients with blood cancers and other life-threatening diseases. It's the 45th annual meeting of the European Society for Blood and Marrow Transplantation, and we're EBMT TV. Welcome back to EBMT TV and to the Frankfurt Messe, where the 45th annual meeting of the EBMT is well underway. Now, the EBMT represents all members of the transplantation team, and in today's programme we'll be hearing from everyone from coordinators to quality managers. Now, of course, central to that team are the nurses, and I'm delighted now to be joined by John Murray, who is chair of the nurses group. John, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for inviting me.
How's the meeting going?
Went off with a bang yesterday. Our nurses opening day on Sunday always starts really well. We had fantastic representation there.
Fantastic. Well, we'll be hearing more from John in just a moment. First, let's find out what's coming up in today's show.
The annual meeting is really important each year. It gets the community of nurses together for educational purposes. This meeting is an integral part, really, of a nurse's education in bone marrow transplantation.
I think we need to start thinking out of the box about long-term survivorship, and we need to stop thinking that we are in charge.
When you work with donors and patients, you work globally. So to build the community and the sense of understanding between us will make everyone's work so much more efficient and more enjoyable and more effective for the patients and donors that we wish to support.
Theracos ECP immunomodulation employs the patient's own immune cells to modulate dysregulated immune function. For more than 30 years, Theracos has been pioneering the science of immunomodulation through ECP and its therapeutic applications.
We want to carry the spirit of data sharing and information sharing into the future.
This is all about the patients, really. At the end of the day, it's about doing our best to reassure patients that when JC accreditation is awarded to a Ascenta, that their outcomes are going to be guaranteed as much as anywhere else.
Physicians in the area around get noticed of us, and they are presenting their patients to us because they believe in us to do our good job. That is what makes us proud.
We can create a younger community where we can foster a culture for learning and education in this ever-growing field of medicine.
So within this database we found no association between acute or chronic GVHD of any grade and subsequent relapse after the transplant.
Clinical Achievement Award is actually something that is summarizing my life.
The honorary membership of the EBMT means a lot because I worked with the EBMT for more than 25 years.
I believe in EBMT, I believe in Europe.
Well, we've got plenty lined up for you there. Now let's hear from John. John, how is this meeting going for you?
So far, fantastic. We had a really good opening session yesterday for the nurses group. It's our 35th meeting of the nurses group here at EBMT in Frankfurt, a fantastic city. We've had a really good welcome here. Hospitality has been great.
How important to the nurses group is the annual meeting?
The annual meeting is really important each year. It gets the community of nurses together for educational purposes. This meeting is an integral part, really, of a nurse's education in bone marrow transplantation. And we try to aim this meeting at our junior and mid-level nurses. And the idea is the education that is supplied here is enough for them to take back to their departments and allow them to expand their knowledge in their own workplace. But we're giving them tools here and ideas for them to be able to take home.
And what impact does what happens here have on the next 12 months?
For the next 12 months, it's really important. We have a variety of other meetings. So we have a paediatric meeting, we have a graft versus host disease meeting, we have an international study day, we have a research nurses day, which has now only been going for 4 years. So it's a really new development for us. And within this research nursing day, each year people bring along ideas, which are then brought to fruition over the next 12 months. And the meeting here each year gives people more ideas to bring back each year to EBMT, and we continue to educate our nurses.
Well, I'm delighted, John, John, we'll be seeing much more of you through today's programme because we're going to be sending you out to meet some of the exciting speakers.
Yeah.
So who are you going to be talking with first?
So I'm going to meet Helene Shomans later on today, who's going to give us a fantastic presentation about the late effects of transplantation.
Fantastic. Well, we'll look forward to hearing from you more later. Thanks, John.
Great, thanks.
I have first time here. Yes, this is a good time for meet another nurses around the world.
There's a lot of experience worldwide that we can bring back to our department, so it's important, absolutely.
We are more closer to the patient, so we can share the information with the patient in another way the doctors do.
I'm a nurse practitioner from Western Australia, and how else do we manage to keep ourselves up to date, especially in a global spectrum? The best way is to come to global meetings like this.
I believe that it is high time to put our patients in the driving seat.
Why should we as nurses and our patients indeed be concerned about long-term survivorship?
Well, I think, we're transplanting more and more patients, and these patients are surviving better, and we know that a number of things are going to jeopardize this long-term survivorship. And so what I wanted to give nurses is tools to recognize what is important for survivorship, typically chronic GVHD, subsequent malignancies, and cardiovascular problems.
What problems do patients tell you in your clinic that are important to them, and how can we help them with these problems?
Yeah, it's interesting to know that what we pick up as main signals and main problems after transplant are very different from what patients are actually telling us. Patients are telling us they're tired, patients are telling us they have financial concerns. They are not really depressed, but they are upset with not being back to normal. And I think we need to start thinking out of the box about long-term survivorship, and we need to stop thinking that we are in charge. And if we can give those tools to the patient and put him in the lead, in the driving seat, and help him know what he has to look out for, he doesn't need us anymore.
So you're speaking at the nurses session tomorrow on assisted dying, and I'd like to ask you a couple of questions about your presentation tomorrow.
Go ahead.
Can you tell me what assisted dying in Canada means?
In the spring of 2016, federally across the country, legislation was passed to make assisted dying accessible to all Canadians, with some caveats as far as eligibility. But we had a very short time within which to come up with local policies and procedures and ways to be able to provide that to patients. It's very rare that a patient would say, I'm looking for medical assistance in dying.
Yeah.
They often will say things like, how much longer is this going to go on? What's the long-term outlook for me? I can't do this anymore. There's lots of verbal cues that we really have a responsibility to hear. And once we hear those, it's important to go a little deeper into that conversation and understand what it is that the patient's asking for.
And what impact has this had on you and your staff?
One of the reasons that I'm doing the talk, actually, is because I had a patient after transplant who relapsed, who then went on to ask for medical assistance in dying. And I had known about the legislation and participated on panels, and I thought I understood where I stood.
Yeah.
But then when it became personal between me and a patient that I'd known for over a year, it became very, very difficult for me.
Are there things that you would change, or are there things that you would do in a different way?
The day that she requested this, I was not at work. If I had been the one to see her that day, I don't know if I would have picked up on those cues and asked her the question. And she may have missed out on the opportunity to sort of get that ball rolling. So I think from a reflection point of view, that's where I spent a lot of time. How many patients have I seen that might have cued me that I should have asked more questions and I didn't? And I think my practice has changed because now I do.
Now at EBMT this year we are having the first Transplant Coordinator Day, and I'm delighted to be joined by the organiser and one of the speakers. Thank you both so much for joining us. Annette, I wonder if we could start with you. What's the role of a Transplant Coordinator?
Transplant coordinators on hospitals, that's what we focus on for this day. They are in between the physician and the registry who is providing the donor and the graft of the donor. They are also involved in preparing the patient with chemotherapy and radiation, but they also have to make sure that the product is delivered at the right time to the right place.
And what challenges does a transplant coordinator face?
A transplant coordinator faces several challenges. So he has to make sure that the patient is inside the hospital and getting prepared in a timely fashion. Has to have contact with the registry who is providing the donor and the product to make sure that everything is in a timely manner. They also have to have contact to the courier or courier company who is doing this transport.
And will the Transplant Coordinator Day here at EBMT, will that help address some of those challenges?
I hope so. On the other hand, we hope that we can create a kind of community within these transplant coordinators. Not even national-wise, we did that in Germany and Great Britain already, but we try to do it internationally because they are all challenged in the same way. And it's a space where they can exchange and where they can talk and where they can learn.
Catherine, let me bring you in here now. How do you support donors? Because of course that must be very important.
So within the registry, we have very close contact with our donors once they have been chosen to be the match for the patient. And then following their donation, we follow the donors up for 10 years. So we check on their medical well-being for a 10-year period post-donation and ask any questions they might have.
And what about keeping them informed of the recipient's outcome? Do you do that? And if you do, how important is that?
Our donors really want to know how the patient is doing. It's really important to the donor to know. So we try and get the outcome information from the international registries. It can be problematic and it's something that we are looking at improving. If the patient is doing well and they choose to write to each other, there's some wonderful correspondence in between patients and donors and they may ultimately meet. If the patient has sadly died post-transplant, some donors find that very difficult to accept, so we offer support.
Catherine, you're a speaker at the day. How important do you think the day is?
I think it's really important because when you work with donors and patients, you work globally. They could be anywhere in the world, and so to build the community and the sense of understanding between us will make everyone's work so much more efficient and more enjoyable and more effective for the patients and donors that we wish to support.
Fantastic. Thank you both very much. That's wonderful. Next up, we take a look at a clinical tool which is having a major impact on patients who are undergoing stem cell transplantation worldwide.
We are an innovation-driven specialty pharmaceutical company focused on improving outcomes for underserved patients who have severe and critical conditions in specialty areas such as immunotherapy, nephrology, pulmonology, and analgesics. In 2015, we acquired Theracos, the only provider of fully integrated systems for the delivery of immunomodulation through extracorporeal photopheresis, which is also known as ECP. Theracos ECP immunomodulation employs the patient's own immune cells to modulate dysregulated immune function. The success of ECP is supported by its well-established tolerability profile and ability to protect patients from the potentially harmful effects of immunosuppressive therapies. Theracos photopheresis was first approved by the FDA in 1987 for the treatment of cutaneous T-cell lymphoma. Over the years, the use of Theracos ECP immunomodulation has expanded globally. Today, it is a well-established therapy choice for the treatment of patients with graft versus host disease after stem cell transplantation. It is now also used to treat a range of immune-mediated conditions such as heart, lung, and kidney transplant rejections. For more than 30 years, Theracos has been pioneering the science of immunomodulation through ECP and its therapeutic applications.
Theracos ECP systems have been used to deliver over 1 million therapeutic treatments to patients in need. Over the last 30 years, the company has continued to innovate in ECP technology, including the development of the Theracos CellX photopheresis system, currently the only fully integrated technology designed specifically for ECP. Here in Dublin, we're focused on the ongoing improvement of the user experience for both customers and patients. The center is dedicated to device development programs and home to a wide range of disciplines, including product design, core electronics, electromechanical engineering, and software development. The CELEX system was engineered to address the needs of patients and operators. The fully integrated system minimizes the risk of reinfusion errors or cross-contamination, given the patient remains connected to the device throughout the entire procedure. The CELEX system also delivers the ECP treatment faster than previous generation Theracos systems, putting less burden on the patient. CELEX also provides the ability to switch between a single and double needle mode throughout the procedure and allows operators to manage complicated venous access conditions, allowing CELEX to help treat a wider range of patients. The new CELEX Plus system upgrade was designed based on feedback received from hundreds of customers and operators. This upgrade now provides an even quieter and smoother ECP procedure experience. A dedicated CELEX engineering team is now focused on building and enhancing the CELEX technology even further. We are investigating exciting new next-generation ECP device possibilities, making sure photopheresis continues to play its vital role in improving the lives of the patients we serve.
Together with the CELEX system, we are proud of providing our customers a range of support services tailored to their needs in setting up and delivering ECP to their patients. First, our dedicated customer support teams help operators to confidently use our technology to deliver ECP to their patients. In 2018 alone, our team of clinical specialists trained approximately 1,700 clinicians. These same individuals provide multilingual clinical and technical phone support to help customers with rapid troubleshooting during a procedure. In addition, our technical service team is there to ensure our instruments are maintained and operational, while our customer service team provides direct and personalized support to ensure continuity of product supply. We hope we can help better inform the medical community and encourage the sharing of scientific and clinical knowledge around ECP. This is mainly delivered through the Theracos Institute, our educational platform in partnership with several European centers of excellence. The Institute offers a range of opportunities, such as live education events and our webinars with some of the most notable leaders in different fields of research and clinical practice. Our medical affairs team partners with clinicians, researchers, and clinical societies to develop the science and clinical practice of ECP immunomodulation by supporting clinical research and trials, just as a few examples. Finally, our health economics and market access teams work in collaboration with the healthcare units to support them in gaining access to ECP services through tools like budget impact models and access to a wealth of health economic data. These are only some of the wide range of services we provide, but I hope this gives an idea of the commitment and dedication we have to supporting our customers in delivering optimal ECP care.
With Theracos, we are committed to advancing the science, knowledge, and clinical practice of ECP immunomodulation. We support research and clinical trials via grants and awards with the aim of realizing the full potential of the therapy. We just recently entered into a research collaboration agreement with Transimmune AG. Our partnership will concentrate on a better understanding of the underlying mechanism of action for ECP and its application for the development of a potential next-generation photopheresis technology. Since 2018, we are proud sponsors of the Advancing ECP Immunomodulation Award with an educational grant of €50,000. We are looking forward to announcing our 2019 winner on the 24th of March during our EBMT Clinical Satellite Symposium to recognize and support those researchers and their institutions who are making a difference in advancing the knowledge of ECP immunomodulation.
In our center we are treating babies, toddlers, school children up to young adults. Excellent patient care for pediatric patients could only be guaranteed in dedicated and specialized pediatric centers.
We'd like to provide the best overall care for patients from the moment they get here to 10 years or 20 years after they're transplanted.
We'll be one of the first institutions
on Long Island to actually provide CAR T-cell therapy for patients with refractory leukemia and lymphoma.
Physicians in the area around get noticed of us, and they are presenting their patients to us because they believe in us to do our good job. That is what makes us proud.
What makes the treatment unique in our department is the combination of high-tech medicine, but not forgetting about the supportive care of the whole family.
Theracos ECP immunomodulation employs the patient's own immune cells to modulate dysregulated immune function. For more than 30 years, Theracos has been pioneering the science of immunomodulation through ECP and its therapeutic applications.
Moving to another milestone, next year sees the 30th anniversary of the EBMT's Transplant Activity Survey. To find out what impact it's had and what the future holds, we caught up with two key members of the team.
The head of the department in University Hospital Basel, Professor Alois Gratvoll, he had the idea, because there wasn't much internet and email and that was not very well developed at the time, had the idea it would be nice to know how many transplants the various centres in the EBMT are doing. So we just started a very simple questionnaire, sent it out to these centres that we knew, got the data back. It was very successful, and then we continued it from there, and the number just increased year by year.
It not only includes EBMT center, but also non-EBMT centers located in Europe, so we have a complete picture of what's going on in the field of stem cell transplantation in Europe. It's also extended to cellular therapies like lymphocyte infusions and now more advanced products.
And it really is an overview of data compared to the registry, which collects detailed data. It takes a lot more time to collect detailed data and get that information out. So at the end of each year, we have an overview of exactly what's gone on in Europe for the previous year.
It allows us to observe trends, to see what is changing, what indications are being used. It allows us to look at economic factors, rich countries versus poor countries.
We're able to see that most of the centres within Europe are fundamentally doing the same thing, and sharing that information is vital.
I hope we can continue in that spirit of open and transparent communication into the world of cellular therapies that will be growing, I assume, considerably. And at the same time, we want to carry that spirit of data sharing and information sharing into the future.
One of the key roles that EBMT plays is as part of the accreditation committee known as JC, which ensures a consistent level of quality across all accredited HSCT and cell therapy services. But with a diverse range of hospitals, not only in Europe but around the world, this is becoming increasingly difficult. Well, to debate this issue, I'm joined by a number of top experts. Gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us. John, I wonder if we can start with you. What are the main difficulties, would you say, in providing benchmarking for HSCT and cell therapy services?
Well, this is one of the most significant developments in EBMT, that we look at the outcomes of each centre and provide a benchmark for those centres so that they can compare themselves with that external standard. However, it's complicated because we all treat very different types of patients. We need to adjust for those case mixes variables, and we need to make it fair so it's accepted, because if it's not fair, it won't be accepted. Another reason why it's challenging as well is because although the EBMT registry is very well established, it's not always complete in every respect. There's a lot of missing data, and it's very dependent on those centres providing a complete data set.
Hein, let me bring you in there because John mentioned data. So at a statistical level, what are the challenges?
Well, as John already mentioned, the missing data is one of the difficulties. We're dealing with that with a method called multiple imputation, but also the case mix. So we have to adjust for different centers having perhaps more difficult patients to treat. So we have a case mix correction model, and we put a lot of effort in finding the right way to do this.
Ricardo, John briefly touched on it, that hospitals and health systems across the global EBMT community vary a lot. How do they vary?
They vary in many terms. In some countries, the health payers are mostly on a private system. In other countries, it's completely provided by the Health National Service. But the basic concept is the same, to ensure that the level of activity and efficiency of each center is standardized and provide at least at the minimum level of assistance to the patients. So,
John, how is JC and EBMT hoping to improve the fairness of the system?
Well, it's been down to having a very broad panel of clinical experts working with a panel of statistical experts in order to identify the most important variables in the case mix that enable us to provide some adjustment, or what we call risk adaptation, to produce a fair result, so that we can compare one centre with the national norm or one centre with the EBMT norm.
Hein, let me ask you, how are statistical models being used to build this system?
Well, the case mix correction model is the most important one. We want to not discourage centres to take on high-risk patients, so we really have to adequately adjust for patient mix. And this has been really a joint effort between clinicians and statisticians to derive those variables from that.
Ricardo, let me bring you back in again. How do disease groups and patient ages factor into all of this?
in the last 40 years, we had a progressive increase in the median age of transplant. At the end of the 80s, the maximum age for doing a transplant was about 40 years. Now we are going to transplant patients between 70 and 8 years. But I would say it's just one of the variables. This is why it is so important that the large set of variables are included in this analysis.
What would you all say is your vision for the future?
We transplant patients for very frequent disease, such as leukemias, but also we report to the registry less frequent disease, so they can provide an important tool to find new treatments and new ways to approach these patients.
John, very quickly, your vision for the future with this?
Well, this is all about the patients, really, at the end of the day. It's about doing our best to reassure patients that when JC accreditation is awarded to a centre, these aspects of benchmarking against the external standards have been properly looked at, and that their outcomes are going to be guaranteed as much as anywhere else.
Great. Well, thank you all very much for joining us. Thank you.
Pleasure.
Always great to see how EBMT is continuing to help optimise the care provided to all patients. Now let's visit a small hospital that's working hard to provide services that match those of the biggest university hospitals. Let's visit Helios Klinikum Erfurt.
We are a comprehensive cancer center of the German Cancer Society. Acute leukemias, advanced lymphomas, multiple myelomas, all hematologic disorders, and oncology is in our department. We started in summer 2015, and so far we have done more than 100 patients. And last year it was so that we have 44 auto transplants done. We have now the possibility to treat 6 patients in a laminar airflow fashion. We have 6 attending physicians, hematology oncologists. We have 3 fellows or residents on our ward. We have at a time 15 registered nurses. We have coordinator for the transplantation and one study nurse who are looking for studies which we try to do. We try to have a close and direct cooperation and contact with the hematologists who are referring our patients. Here in Erfurt we have the clear policy. We do the transplant, and all what the hematologist in the neighborhood of the patient can do, he should do and continue.
What is different from us to others is the possibility to work in a small unit means everyone knows everyone. And that makes communication short ways. And that is what helps the patient because there's no loss of information. Autologous stem cell transplantation is not a single step. We usually start up with induction therapies to control the hematologic malignancy. The next step would be to collect the stem cells, which is done in a cooperation with a blood donor service in the second firm, which is called Seracell at Rostock, that is processing the stem cells and doing the cryoconservation and the storage. Before transplant, there's a very intensive chemotherapy we usually call a conditioning therapy. With 1 day of interruption, there will be the transplantation of the cells afterwards. And after transplantation, we calculate for about 14 days until all these cells have found their way to the bone marrow and started over to produce new blood, so that the patient then will be able to leave the unit and return to home.
Das psychische Befinden des Patienten spielt eine große Rolle bei der ganzen Thematik Krebserkrankung, Transplantation. Bei vielen Patienten ist es so, dass die sich über die Zeit gut einfinden, aber es gibt doch durchaus eine ganze Menge Patienten, die auch psychische Erkrankungen oder psychische Störungen entwickeln über die Zeit. Spezifisch sind an der Transplantation durchaus das Gefühl der Isolation, auch dass viele zwischenmenschliche Kontakte in dem Moment nicht mehr möglich sind. Sicherlich auch die Besonderheit der Transplantation an sich. Es ist eine Hochdosis-Chemotherapie, da kommen dann doch schon eine ganze Menge zusammen. Je nachdem, wie der Bedarf, wie das Anliegen des Patienten ist, besuche ich die Patienten durchaus 1- bis 3-mal die Woche. Wenn akute Krisensituationen sind, auch sehr kurzfristig, sehr schnell. Wir arbeiten manchmal einfach mit Entspannungstechniken, wir arbeiten mit Hypnose oder mit systemischen Aspekten. Also es ist eine bunte Mischung an verschiedenen Verfahren, die da zum Tragen kommen, immer ganz individuell und ganz nah am Patienten.
Der tägliche Fokus ist, dass es ihnen gut geht, dass sie ihre Therapie gut überstehen, die damit verbundenen Nebenwirkungen, dass wir die lindern können und dass sie sich wohlfühlen. Ich bin hier auf dieser Station seit 1,25 Vierteljahr, seit einem Jahr die Stationsleitung. Ich habe sehr erfahrene Mitarbeiter, aber auch einige neue. Und wir versuchen aus dem Erfahrungsschatz meiner langjährig erfahrenen Schwestern zu schöpfen, die Neuen gut einzuarbeiten und gut für unsere speziellen Bedürfnisse der Patienten zu sensibilisieren. Es gibt onkologische Fachschwestern. Wir führen regelmäßig stationsinterne Weiterbildung mit den Ärzten durch. Wir können aber auch ganz regelmäßig im täglichen die Ärzte mit Fragen löchern, weil einfach die Erfahrung uns lehrt, dass die normalen Internisten mit unseren speziellen Erkrankungen nicht so die Routine haben.
Nearly half of all autotransplant are done in institutions like ours. Smaller units who are only performing autologous transplantation. This is a really challenge for these teams because they have to keep in touch with all new developments. We are trying to do this by, for example, trying to engage ourselves in clinical studies. We don't know what will be in 10 or 15 years, but at time, autotransplant is state of the art, so we have to do it. But we are preparing ourselves that maybe if CAR T-cell therapy is going to be a state of the art, we will definitely try to implement this new technology here in Erfurt because we have so much patients with, for example, advanced lymphoma.
When we started over with transplantation about 4 years ago, it was 2 physicians who knew how to do it. Now we are a team. We are a team of nurses, a team of further physicians and a team of a psychologist who work all together. physicians in the area around get noticed of us. And they are presenting their patients to us because they believe in us to do our good job. That is what makes us proud, to have established a new transplantation facility in Thüringen that is recognized by the environment.
Each year, the EBMT selects a small group of exceptional young people to act as young ambassadors to the annual meeting, reporting on the latest developments and their experiences as professionals in the field. We were lucky enough to meet some of them.
Hi, my name is Sabine Valenta. I'm a professional nurse and PhD student from the University Hospital and University of Basel in Switzerland.
My name is Sagar Patel. I'm a blood and marrow transplant fellow at the Cleveland Clinic in the United States.
Hi, my name is Jamal. I'm from Russia, from St. Petersburg, and I am second-year resident.
I'm Alessandro, and I am first-year pediatric resident at the University of Pisa in Italy.
Hello, my name is Dimitrios Protodros. I'm a specialized oncology nurse, and I am from Athens, Greece.
I'm Sylvia. I'm a registered nurse working in the Hematology and Bone Marrow Transplantation Unit at the Royal Melbourne Hospital in Melbourne, Australia.
So, hello, my name is Katerina Filorenko. I'm a hematologist from Ukraine. I work in National Cancer Institute in Kyiv.
EBMT is building a young community which will help build the next generation of transplant physicians and nurses.
Being an EBMT Young Ambassador really means, especially as a young researcher, to meet all the experts, to exchange interdisciplinary knowledge.
I'm very proud of being Young Ambassador. It's a great opportunity to be always up to date.
I have a great opportunity to enjoy and to discover the EBMT annual meeting in a different way.
This is an opportunity to develop a network with distinguished leaders across Europe.
Being young EBMT ambassador is a chance to say something about my country, about transplantation in Ukraine.
We can create a younger community where we can foster a culture for learning and education in this ever-growing field of medicine.
The EBMT is great because there are so much experts from the field, from the hematopoietic and stem cell transplanted field.
EBMT is important because it's the most popular and it's the biggest meeting of hematologists all over the world.
It gathers under one umbrella people from different specialties, clinicians, nurses, biologists, and gives a lot of possibilities for these people in education, in communication, or wherever.
It's like family in which you can grow and you can learn a lot of things. You can discover and share the knowledge.
I'm in particular motivated to work in the transplant field, not only because of the patients, but because of the science and the research that helps bring new therapies to these patients.
There's a lot of things to discover and a lot of pathologies that can benefit from transplantations.
I just like this job. And of course, starting transplantation, that's a little bit another level for me. It motivates to get a new education, it motivates to visit different meetings.
My motivations is always the patients who have special needs, and I'm there for them.
My patients always motivates me because you can help them and you see happiness when you really treat them.
Congratulations! Your abstract was selected to the Presidential Symposium at this EBMT 2019 Congress held here in Frankfurt. For decades we've been struggling with this issue of GVHD versus GVL, and you have revisited this question in the setting of haplotransplant. Can you please tell me a little bit more about what you did?
Yes, so we analyzed within the database of the Acute Leukemia Working Party of the EBMT
the association between GVHD and GVL after T-replete haploidentical transplant with post-transplant cyclophosphamide. So the association between GVHD and GVL is well known, but there is scarce data on the haplo setting.
And these were haplotransplant with post-transplant cyclophosphamide?
With post-transplant cyclophosphamide. So within this database we found no association between acute or chronic GVHD of any grade and subsequent relapse after the transplant. However, acute GVHD grade 3 and 4 and extensive chronic GVHD were associated with higher non-relapse mortality after the transplant and lower leukemia-free survival. So altogether it seems that GVHD offers no advantage to the patient and should be avoided if possible after haplotransplant.
But this is very puzzling. So you're suggesting that we are having the harm of GVHD without any benefit?
It's not that there is no additional benefit. I mean, it's probably a quantitative issue. So when you have GVHD, you already have the GVL, and the addition effect of GVHD has no additional effect on prevention of relapse.
This is very important because usually we always discuss with our patient and we try to tell them, well, you know, GVHD is bad, it's worsening your quality of life, but you know, at the end of the day, you will have some benefit with this leukemia control over the long term.
Yes, so the biology of the haplotransplant with post-transplant cyclophosphamide is still not well understood, and in this setting, this is not the case. I mean, the GVHD does not offer any advantage here to the patient.
Well, that's really good news, so we have to work hard
to prevent GVHD.
Absolutely. Yes. Well, congratulations again and well done.
Thank you, Dr. Martin.
Now it's time to go to the Presidential Symposium, where the EBMT recognises more great work in the field. The much anticipated and very well attended Presidential Symposium opened with the induction of the newly appointed EBMT honorary members and the presentation of the Clinical Achievement Awards, after which the 6 top clinical abstracts were presented. We caught up with an award winner and the new honorary members to hear just what it meant to them.
The honorary membership of the EBMT means a lot because I worked with the EBMT for more than 25 years and I've really seen the EBMT as part of the extended family. It's important to work in the EBMT because it gives a sense of international collaboration, but also to get a wider perspective of things than when you are in your home center.
It's an honor for me, an honor also for the France. And also it's an honor for the French Society of Bone Marrow Transplant and Cell Therapy, and also for my family, because they have had a real tolerance to allow me to do this job. I believe in EBMT, I believe in Europe, because EBMT allowed 1 million people, including doctors, including nurses, including statisticians, data managers and coordinators. And we work all together to try to cure patients.
Clinical Achievement Award is actually something that is summarizing my life. Summarizing my life in these terms that last more than 30 years were devoted primarily to bone marrow transplantation, to development of this procedure in Poland, to training people, to establishing new teams. We started 35 years ago. The first patient is still alive, and what is important these days that we now in Poland perform more than 1,700 procedures. So actually from this individual procedures we went into mass-scale procedures available for almost every leukemia patient in Poland.
Really great to see years of experience and dedication to patient care being rewarded by the EBMT there. Well, that's it for today's programme, but we've had such a fantastic day, taking a look at the breadth of the team that's involved in improving outcomes and maintaining quality of life for patients. Tomorrow we'll be bringing you more on CAR T cells, this time from the nurse, pharmacist and quality perspective. Plus, we'll be covering more EBMT awards. So do join us then.